In Ukraine, we say one hard winter is better than 100 years of slavery and 100 years with Russia.
That's the voice of Eugene Geresymchuck. He is one of the millions of Ukrainians who are living under Russia's nearly constant bombardment. Eugene lives in the central Ukrainian city of Zhytomyr, about 85 miles west of Kyiv. And it's one of dozens of cities attacked in recent weeks. Russian rockets and drones have knocked out that city's power supply plant. Eugene is a journalist like I am. We first met in 2015 when I visited him in Zhytomyr. He visited the United States that same year. We've stayed in touch over the years through social media, and we reconnected this year following the start of the war. I spoke to him this week about the recent attacks and how his city is preparing for the cold winter ahead. Here's that interview. How are you doing? Give me a kind of a day in the life of what you're experiencing right now.
A bit cold in Ukraine, late autumn, and we are trying to warm our houses, our apartments, and our cities.
Were you anticipating this new round of attacks that you had over the past several days?
Several days ago, maybe a week, maybe 1 week, maybe 1 week and a half, we got attacks on our electricity infrastructure. Russian rockets damaged it pretty much, and I think it was a big challenge for our people, for our first of all for employees who are working with electricity, because they needed to repair all the infrastructure in really short time and use all their knowledge and skills to bring light back to people.
I think you live in an apartment or a flat. I'm sure that's a little bit more difficult, more challenged to keep it heated in like an apartment buildings versus if you live in an individual home. I guess I'm kind of curious on, how, depending on where you live, what people are doing if they can to prepare for the winter.
We do live in an apartment, and it's not really cold for me, but my wife says she's a bit cold. We still don't have heat in the system. We're preparing ourselves to be ready to use summer house. We bought firewood for this winter. We have a summer house, and in case of complete power cut, we at least have the opportunity to spend the winter there. Usually we don't use it in winter, but we are getting ready that this winter may be difficult. People who do not have an opportunity to go somewhere else except their apartment, they are buying different stuff like warm clothes and more fleece blankets, sleeping bags, portable chargers for phones, keep stocks of water and food that do not need fridge. We mostly have gas cookers, but people who have electrical ones buy devices for cooking food that do not need electricity at all.
I notice you have, your lights are on, so I take it that you have electricity. Is that fairly reliable? It looks like they've done a pretty good job of getting power at least back on. So right now, I guess there's interruptions with gas.
We have electricity cuts in some cities in Ukraine, but Zhytomyr more good situation with the power, and we can use light. We try to not to use different stuff which needs a lot of electricity. For example, we use our washing machines, microwaves in the evening after the midnight, not to make a lot of problems for electricity system, because the rush hours are from 7 in the evening till 11 in the evening. System gets a lot of problems when everybody try to use their devices, different stuff, and our government asked not to use it in the rush hours early in the morning and late in the evening. For example, me and my wife prepared because we have LED lights and they do not use a lot of electricity. We also try to prepare ourselves for this difficult situation.
Are people still working in Zhytomyr? And give me an idea of what the city is kind of doing right now, going through all this. Not that it's back to normal, but what are people doing to try to get through everything?
So the situation in Zhytomyr is really interesting because everybody preparing themselves for difficulties. We still have warm weather. The businesses are working. People are trying to use all the possibilities to make For example, coffee for make different meals and everything else. We have electricity cuts. The duration may be from 1 hour to 4 hours. Our mayor told that city will buy really powerful generators that will work at energy facilities and boiler houses in winter, and the city spent a lot of money for this equipment. It will come to us from Germany, I think, and we are trying to do our best not to be afraid. In Ukraine, we say one hard winter is better than 100 years of slavery and 100 years with Russia. These attacks on cities in Ukraine, Russians think that we will be afraid and we will push our government to make peace, to surrender, not to fight. These Russian attacks don't have much effect that Russians expected, because it has the opposite effect. We actually are trying to forget all they did and help our soldiers and militaries, because the only way to not to have problems with electricity, not to have problems with territory, not to have problems with I don't know, with evil. It's the only way to support our army, because only these people can really bring peace on our land.
Eugene Geresymchuck speaking with me from Zhytomyr, Ukraine. I could tell in his voice he was tired, but he, like many, many other Ukrainians, are not giving up. Western media has called this Putin's war. But if you ask Eugene, this is Russia's war. The sense of brotherhood between Ukraine and Russia seems severed. Russians are supporting Putin, and it's the Russians who are attacking and killing Ukrainians. Eugene is bracing for a long winter, and he knows that this war is far from over.